So, a lot has happened in Iran. Let's get into it.
I do him Monday morning.
Careful, they went live. I don't know if that's okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So usually I'm with him Monday morning and Friday morning. So when I went on with him, I accused him. I said, okay, you had inside information this was going to take place. You called it in advance.
Well, last we spoke was yesterday. Is about we're trying to understand the helicopter and what happened to that helicopter. And you were very upset because it didn't need to escalate to this level. And
Correct.
we're seeing that. We're seeing this, it didn't need that retaliation. Everyone except this wasn't about the helicopter. Now no one's talking
Yeah, it wasn't about the helicopter. Trump just decided to bomb the shit out of Iran.
about the helicopter. Everyone I have a conversation with is this is no longer being debated. So everyone's trying to understand what is the objective here. It seemed that both sides, are, well, I'm getting reports unconfirmed that Iran will begin a large-scale naval mining operation in the Strait of Hormuz. Unconfirmed, just saw it now. Unconfirmed. But then we got the attack by...
That's because Trump claimed we snuck all these ships out of it. And Iran's probably going to mine the straits now.
the Americas, multiple targets yesterday. I spoke to Morandi this morning, and he said the damage was not that significant, and it seemed to be very limited to the Strait of Hormuz. And now we're seeing another attack now. Meher News said 7 targets were struck, all of them coastal targets, and the Iranians struck 2 vessels trying to get through the Strait of Hormuz. And Trump said earlier today that there was a secret operation to get ships out of the Strait of Hormuz going on for the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's nonsense.
Agreed, it's nonsense. There would have been indications. Tankers, again, those super tankers are the size of 2 football stadiums put together, and they move at the speed of a bicycle. They aren't exactly stealthy, even at night. And they aren't hard to keep track of. They're easy to see through satellites. And Iran has satellite coverage now. You're not sneaking tankers through the Strait of Hormuz.
So we'd love to get your thoughts on all the developments and where we're at right now. It's kind of everyone's just sitting and waiting on what happens next.
Well, actually, we see some dramatic up.
Anyway, you see this airplane here doing circles in the air? That's a refueling tanker. And that's what jets coming from Israel or from far-off U.S. bases or from an aircraft carrier can go up here, get refueled, and then go fly, bomb Iran, and go back. That's what they're doing there. Refueling tankers. They're key to this U.S.'s war against Iran.
Grades in Iran's capabilities. They reportedly intercepted several cruise missiles that were headed in towards Bandar Abbas, or one of the targets in that region. And then an F-16 tried to enter Iranian airspace, and the air defense system caught that, shot at it, and it scurried out of, tried to get home. So clearly Iran has significantly upgraded significantly upgraded
Another refueling tanker circling in the air.
its air defense capability. I just saw a note flashed on my screen that Pakistan has now said, okay, we're done being the intermediary. So
really?
all the hopes that Pakistan had that it would be able to produce the Islamabad Accord, Donald Trump's blown it up. And I think what we're seeing, this entire, there was when Iran retaliated against Israel on Sunday, and Trump did not react with fury. When Trump reacted trying to say, oh, well, okay, you fired, now let's everybody go back to our corners and behave. We'll continue on with this peace process. That was essentially the message. That lasted 36 hours, 24 hours, because
the Israeli lobby got to him. They got to Trump. I mean, if they were going to retaliate, they should have retaliated when Iran struck Israel. I'm thinking they did it this way. Either A, Israel finally pressured Trump, or B, Trump didn't want to go to war with Iran again, clearly at the behest of Israel. If Israel and Iran started bombing each other, then the United States entered in, that really looks like Trump is Netanyahu's bitch. But by waiting 2 days and making up a story about a helicopter, then, of course, Trump's still doing this because of Israel, but he's trying to pretend he's not.
As of yesterday, when the United States created this bogus story about, oh, they shot down our helicopter. Nonsense. Iran did not shoot down a helicopter. I don't know what happened to it, whether it was an actual, say it shot at a drone, the drone exploded, shrapnel from that drone entered the helicopter engines and they had to set down, or it was just staged to create an excuse for attacking Iran, because the Zionist reaction to Trump was furious, and they put enormous pressure on him, and he's caved. So he's going back to war. We got to destroy Iran. He's bought into that nonsense. All right, so here we go. This is, Iran I think Iran's going to be responding here probably in the hour that we're talking. And that with new missile strikes at new targets, we'll see if they go after Israel yet. That the reservoirs,
Israeli sources have said that the Israelis were not part of the operation yesterday and today, according to Israeli media.
Oh, come on. Of course that doesn't matter. The Israelis weren't officially part of other times United States bombed Iran, and Iran still responded again. They know Netanyahu had played a big role in convincing Trump to attack Iran yet again.
I haven't heard anyone put the finger at Israel yet.
But it doesn't matter. At this point, if you're going to, the reservoirs, the two water reservoirs that have knocked out water supply to 20,000 people, like Kemch, where's Iran going to hit to take out water? It's not clear Saudis did anything to support this. And the Qatari delegation was just in Tehran. In fact, the United States waited till...
Well, I believe some of these refueling tankers are taking out from an airfield in Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia would still indirectly be supporting these attacks against Iran.
The Qatari delegation left before they launched their attack.
Also, look, they're going through Saudi airspace. Qatar, that's unclear. Maybe Qatar might be able to get out of it, but this refueling tanker clearly came out of Saudi airspace.
2 hours ago. So, by the way, there's 2 refueling tankers leaving on the map right now, so it seems the operation has come to an end for now. It's a limited operation, to be honest.
Well, we've got to take Trump at his word. They're going to hit hard. This was not a hard hit yet, and they're going to continue it through the night, multiple times. That's what Pete Hegseth said. Now, unless they've had a change of heart. There is the report that the Iranians launched a hypersonic missile that hit a U.S. warship. Now, maybe they're confusing that with the two. I guess I don't know if they're tankers or container ships that Iran just did. But but the big news is the Pakistanis were planning to be a big part of this, and they've now said we're done. Now,
that's huge. The Pakistanis, they've been the main party doing the negotiations between U.S. and Iran, relaying messages, and now they're done.
That's one report. Is that confirmed? If true, then that's a significant.
Yeah, I agree. That would be probably the most significant thing because the Pakistanis played such an important role in these negotiations. Them stepping away. The Pakistanis did say in the midst before the strikes, and again now, they did say Pakistan said to Al Jadid or Al Jazeera, one of these publications, a Saudi one, I think. They did say that the two sides are far from a deal. Obviously, we're in the midst of conflict again, of strikes, of kinetic action between the two. And I saw another report, I think from the Qataris saying the same thing in the last 20, 30 minutes as, not long after they left. The refueling tankers have left.
Well, I said, just let me note that the dramatic change in Trump's rhetoric in the last 12 hours, okay?
It is odd.
Yes.
Yeah, there's one drastic change in Trump's rhetoric about a week and a half ago when he got the message that Iran has a nuke. And they'll test it if there's a big escalation. It's a big change in his rhetoric. Now, last 12 hours, another big change in his rhetoric. Maybe is Israel convinced him, well, they're bluffing. They don't really have a nuke. And you have to hit them after what they did to Israel. And more faulty intelligence from Israel. Perfectly explain what's happening now.
So he went like 10 days with, okay, let's calm down and let's everybody behave and let's respect the ceasefire. Sort of that kind of, it was a weird tone, and it was attributed to the threat that the Iranians made. Now he's back, basically saying, "Screw it, we're gonna destroy them. We're gonna attack bridges and power plants." Now, let me point out the difference between Russia attacking those in Ukraine and
Russia started attacking bridges in Ukraine after Ukraine started attacking bridges in Russia, in like the bridge to Crimea. So that's another reason you can't compare the two is Russia wasn't the first party who started attacking bridges. They were doing it as part of a tit for tat. And that's probably the same thing is going to happen here. Like Iran has not attacked any bridges that I'm aware of. But if the United States start attacking them, they're going to start attacking them too.
The United States attacking those in Iran. It makes military sense in Ukraine to attack bridges that connect with the rear supply going forward to the troops on the front lines. So that's where you take out bridges so that you disrupt the ability to resupply troops. That has a clear military objective. But the United States isn't on the ground in Iran. So just blowing up bridges and power plants is designed to just hurt Iranians. So that's all. It's basically another war crime. where you're going after the civilian population. Those are not military targets. They could be military targets if they were in, near the front lines.
I'd say the even bigger problem is when they go after the water. Like they blew off the reservoir for 20,000 people, apparently last night. United States, we did that. That's a war crime, pure and simple. Water has nothing to do with military.
Providing resupply to troops, but that's not the case in Iran.
So the IRGC Navy has just released a new statement saying that following this repeated violations of the ceasefire, the Strait of Hormuz will close. We want that no vessel should leave its anchorage in the Persian Gulf or the Sea of Oman. Approaching the Strait of Hormuz will be considered cooperation with the enemy. I'll tell you what I think. I think this is all part of an operation for the Americans to try to get as many ships as possible out of the Strait of Hormuz. They've struck coastal targets, missile batteries.
I think it is an attempt, preparation to do something, to maybe go into Karg Island, and because yes, the United States has been attacking Keshem Island here. Sorry, Keshem Island is what I'm talking about. This, which is a big part of what Iran has been using to control the Strait of Hormuz. But I will add, they don't need Keshem Island to control the Strait of Hormuz. What they need Keshem Island for is to partially open the Strait of Hormuz. What they're doing with that, only letting Iran-approved ships go through. To do that, to have a partially open strait, yes, they need Keshem Island to monitor the ships that come in. If they lose Keshem Island, then they'll probably have to just do a complete closure of Strait of Hormuz. They won't. It'll be harder for them to allow only certain ships through, and in that case, they'll just declare no ships through this area, and from the coast attack all ships. That's what will happen. But I do think we're targeting Keshem Island because all our strikes have been in this area, basically, and it's definitely about the Strait of Hormuz.
Tunnels where the boats go under, that was what they targeted yesterday. Radars, they've been striking radars for days.
Mm-hmm.
And now Trump is obviously claiming, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of barrels.
He's lying. He's lying.
He's absolutely lying. We would know if like I said, size of two football fields, speed of a bicycle. You can see them from space. If there were ships sneaking through, we would know.
But if we put the claim, because obviously sometimes the claim comes from like a small reality, like an operation to get ships out, makes it into something grandiose.
Yeah, United States snuck 2 ships out at one point. I do admit that, but I don't think any more since then.
So I think this is all part of a strategy to try to get as many ships as possible, and Iran's retaliating by striking those ships. And that might have been what happened with the helicopter. Maybe what I think the helicopter was, I don't know if that was a source that was saying this, I was reported, the helicopter was part of such an operation, was firing at attack boats, and there were drones there as well. So there were clashes between the two, and either it was an accident or something else. The helicopter went down, maybe it struck a drone. But all of it is part of an operation to get ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. And this is what we could be seeing now. And Iran is drawing a line saying, hey, any ships that even leave their anchorage would be considered cooperating with the enemy and will be targeted. And they've closed the Strait of Hormuz, completely closed the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, the maritime tracker applications, I checked it last night. They're not showing anything. Yeah, they don't show anything. So let's assume, okay, these other ships turned off the transponders. They still wouldn't get, Iran's still able to monitor those. They're not going to escape unnoticed. No, I think this is to destroy the peace process, and the United States still labors under this. Yeah, see there, it'd be one thing if they're a bunch of lined up there by Camsh Island and waiting to get out, but they're not. They're staying farther north or farther south.
That's what Moran.
It's only 31 miles across, and less than that from Keshem. There's no way for them to sneak by, even at night. They have small boats in the area at all times.
Randy, so I was telling Randy, I'm in the belief that they're, I don't know the number of ships, but they're trying to get ships out. Succeeding or not, that's impossible for me to know. And Professor Morandi told me, he asked a very good question. Another one of my guests today asked the same question, Chris Martinson. They both asked me the same question. It's like, all right, but we haven't seen any names of ships being released. So where are these ships' names? Who are these ships that have gone through? Yeah. So this is what the very good question is.
Yeah, I know Chris and Sayed are both right. So this is.
I'm just saying they probably have Iran somewhere inside Tehran. They have the names of all the ships that are stuck inside the Persian Gulf. Now I would do that if I was Iran, and they should be able to then check if any ships are missing, if any ships snuck through, and at least in terms of the big oil tankers, I bet you they are tracking every ship, oil tanker that is in the Straits of Hormuz, inside the Gulf, Persian Gulf. And yeah, I don't think it's possible for the United States to. They did two ships at one point, and they snuck them around this at middle of the night. But for those two ships, they actually had Marines go onto the ships and use special military equipment to communicate. It was a huge deal. It's not something that can be done at scale.
And Sayed are both right. You know, so this is probably another Donald Trump confabulation, because what he may be reacting to is all of the Iranian ships carrying oil that have left the Gulf over the course of the last 10 weeks.
Oh, about Trump's claim that they're sneaking ships out. I think that's to control the oil market. It's to keep oil prices down. It's the narrative they're spinning. They did that same thing back 2009, 2010, when they were manipulating like the price of food stuff, like wheat, corn, soybeans. USDA put out bigger and bigger forecasts for the harvest. And this was at a time where like most of America had experienced crop losses over 30%. It was the most insane period. And it's basically the same thing as that. They're pretending there's more oil out there than there is. And because price in oil, price is a huge part of it is psychological, is what people believe. You sell a huge amount of paper oil in futures, basically a lot of futures. You have Trump say that we're sneaking hundreds of millions of barrels out. And then you combine that with releases from the Strategic Reserve to make sure there isn't any immediate shortages in the oil market. Those three things combined can keep oil prices stable even at a time where they should be like 150 due to the actual supply and demand. But that ends when there starts being shortages. When there's only 70 million barrels available in the strategic reserves that can be taken out. After that, you have our U.S. Strategic Reserve has to keep 20% in it to just keep the reserve viable. You go down under 20%, and then the Strategic Reserve is fucked. You can't add more oil to it. Parts of it are start to collapse because it's a salt mine converted into an oil storage facility. And the way they get the oil out is by pumping water down, and water dissolves salt. So they can't take more out than they have to leave 20% in it at all times. So we have 70 million barrels of oils from just running out of our strategic reserve, and that will happen this summer, probably before the end of July. That
those got out, and that was with Iranian oil. And that oil has been sold on the market and it's arriving at other ports. And you haven't seen the United States intercepting all of those. They do an occasional interception, but that's again, the United States lacks the naval power to do it. They don't have enough ships in the area.
Yeah, I have a feeling that I think both are getting ships out. The American blockade, which you've been very critical of for a while, are not intercepting as many ships as they could or would like to. And the Iranians are not intercepting as many ships as they would like to. And that could be one of the reasons, along with, I know you're very skeptical of the manipulation that's happening of why oil prices are low.
But do we have any evidence of any ships getting out?
No.
That's the point. Yeah, so they got to be somewhere. If nothing else, once you get through the Strait of Hormuz, if they're in the Sea of Oman, then, they turn their transponders back on and say, okay, we're safe. We haven't seen that. So this is more...
I guarantee you, with the way Trump is, like bragging about it now, he'd give the names of the ships they snuck out if they'd actually been snucking ships out to prove that they'd been doing it. The U.S. isn't offering any type of proof because there is none.
This is more about destroying the peace, any chance for negotiated peace. Now, what's likely to happen, and again, I'm waiting to see, is Iran going to respond to this attack? It was unjustified. They're already making... Go ahead.
There's apparently, Fox News just said a U.S. official confirmed the U.S. military strikes are ongoing. Literally seconds later, one source posted new wave just started. But that's only one source. No one else reporting it. 2 U.S. airstrikes in Bandar Abbas, southern Iran. So it seems to be ongoing. That's a warning by IRGC. Explosions, U.S.-Iran clashes continue in Qasem Island and the Persian Gulf. U.S. military strikes targeting Iran are ongoing. So yeah, it's ongoing. It'll be a long night by the looks of it.
Yeah, so it appears that what the United States is they're trying to use these bombings there to open the Strait of Hormuz. So say, okay, we've knocked out it so you can sell through. But, God, these morons, don't they understand that The mini submarines are still there. Underwater drones are still there. The drones inland are still there. The short-range ballistic missiles are still there.
Not only that, the mines, they have 6,000 mines or something that they could deploy. And if they were ever in danger of losing control of Strait of Hormuz, they would start mining the Strait of Hormuz and no one would get through anymore. Or at least there'd be only a very narrow passageway. They haven't, I don't think, heavily mined the straits. There are reports that there are some mines, and there might indeed be some mines, but they haven't put thousands in the Strait of Hormuz yet. That might change if Trump keeps on attacking the installations that Iran uses to control the Strait of Hormuz, and if ever Iran feels in danger, they might lose control, they'll mine the Strait of Hormuz. And there's reports that they might be considering doing that now.
You're going to try to take out a lot of the coastal defense cruise missiles that Iran has. It stretches along about 100 miles. The U.S. doesn't have enough aircraft to cover all that, for heaven's sake.
So that's an interesting one. U.S. officials denied any skirmishes at sea between the U.S. and the IRGC Navy, despite Iranian media saying there are skirmishes. Of course, there'd be skirmishes. I think there's been skirmishes even before today. So I think that's a silly thing to deny. I have two questions for you, Larry. The first one is, you answered the first one actually. Why do you think they're striking the coastal locations? I'm in the same belief as you. The intention is to open the Strait of Hormuz. So the two question is, Iran's retaliation. It was limited yesterday, and we haven't seen any of the Gulf countries attack today. I know it's early, but even yesterday, they hadn't struck any country except Jordan, Bahrain, Kuwait. The UAE wasn't struck, and the barrage wasn't.
I am feeling that a lot of Gulf countries were negotiating or have been trying to negotiate heavily with Iran, trying to help put this deal through. And although this deal appears to have failed, I think maybe Iran is a little hesitant to start attacking them again. But they're going to have to. Otherwise, Trump is going to start bombing their oil and energy and bridges and desalination plants. Their deterrence to that is attacking that same infrastructure in the Gulf states. If they show themselves unwilling to do that, oh my God, Israel will be so happy. And they'll just devastate Iran in terms of attacking its most critical infrastructure.
Wasn't as big as I expected. My assumption is because the American attack wasn't as significant as it could have been, and the Iranians are responding proportionally. That's what I'm speculating. But that's what your thoughts.
See, what I'm thinking here, looking at this plane, you see it has been doing circles, and sometimes it does bigger circles. I think the bigger circles is when it's refueling a fighter jet, because fighter jets don't have their transponder on, and you need to fly in straight line to refuel a fighter jet. So, fighter jet comes, they're either refueling on this section or that section. That's why they're not just flying loops.
No, I agree. But they come back to the question, okay, why today did Trump's rhetoric shift? Again, he did a 180-degree shift. He became more aggressive, more threatening. We're going to bomb them. We're going to hit them hard tonight. Why? I mean, what has Iran done in the last 24 hours that makes it that now you got to hit them harder? I bet that one reason is those strikes they made in Jordan, where Jordan said, we shot down all the missiles. That's bullshit. I suspect the Iran attack actually did some significant damage there. And, U.S. is now retaliating. But I can't emphasize enough that if these reports that came out early on that Iran's air defense systems were knocking down cruise missiles, so that means Tomahawks or JASSMs primarily.
Apparently, if this is true, Iran's air defense has gotten a significant upgrade. And they're actually, in some cases, shooting down our Tomahawk missiles.
And that they targeted an F-16 that entered Iranian airspace, then I think they're going, okay, wait a second. And maybe one of the other motivations for the U.S. to attack is they saw through overhead imagery these new sites pop up that have been supplied by China and or Russia. And they were trying to take those out. Now they're going to find out, whoops, we may not have the ability to take those out.
Yeah, I'll give you two theories that I've been told in various interviews. One of them is exactly.
And we were saying that they're attacking all this area around the Strait of Hormuz for an operation, and I still believe that's the case. But I will mention that attacking areas right at the edge of Iran is the safest place in Iran to attack. You attack deeper in Iran, you might have to fly over Iranian airspace, and you might get shot down. As long as you're attacking just the edge of Iran, you can shoot from outside Iran's territory. If you do get shot down, it'll be over water, and the pilot can easily be rescued. Deeper into Iran, you try to shoot, the more dangerous it is.
Exactly that. is that the incident of the helicopter being downed gave the US an opportunity to degrade Iran's capabilities further. But then that leads to my next. So they saw new radars. Maybe they were supplied by Russia and China, or Iran had them underground, and they've just brought them up because they're striking radars at the coastline. Why are they the radars in the first place? Why weren't they destroyed in the 40-day war? But that's one theory. And then the second theory is the one you disagree with, I know. The second theory is that so in the last couple of weeks, there was an operation to get ships out, and the Americans now have enough ships out to feel comfortable to conduct military operation even for close to the Strait of Hormuz.
That's a load of crap.
Yeah, that's agreed.
It is just, it's delusional nonsense.
Again, the size of these tankers, Iran's not stupid. They have from the entire coastline. I mean, if it was foggy and there's bad weather, there's somewhere place up north, maybe you might be able to sneak tankers by, but not here, not in this part of the world. They have hundreds of little small boats in this area keeping track of things. Yeah, they have not gotten like 100 ships out of here without paying, maybe 100 ships paying the Iranian toll and going through officially, maybe, because I've been checking the Hormuz Straits, and there's always been some tankers like this. See, huge tanker. You can see the size of these things. They're huge. They're not something you can. This can be seen from space, from satellites, easily. You do not sneak something like this. And so, there are tankers going through. I'll be checking every day, something like 1 or 2 that are in the middle of going through. And so, yeah, at that rate, maybe there have been 100 that have gone through and paid the toll. But sneaking 100 through here, that hasn't happened.
We would have seen the ships going out.
Yeah.
And we didn't have, I mean, everybody was monitoring that. It's not like this was some obscure location that people were focused elsewhere.
Yeah.
Heavens, everybody in the world was focused on the Strait of Hormuz.
Everyone in the world, yes. And I give it to you, Russians, Chinese, they have crystal clear satellite imagery of this, and their allies of Iran. If there were hundreds of ships getting through, Iran would have been warned.
Hormuz for the last 103 days. And so they snuck it out. Yeah, please.
The Deputy for Political and Security Affairs of Bashir government confirmed that an area in the highlands of Dashti County.
No, the reason Trump is saying that they snuck ships out is right here. Oil. There we go. Is to look at what's happened in oil in the last month. Or look, it's it's under 100. It's sometimes it was nearly under 90. That's what Trump wants. That's why he's saying the deal is we're on the verge of a deal, that we snuck all this oil out. It's to manipulate oil prices.
He has been targeted. Why do you think they haven't targeted deep inside Iran? We're seeing very different targeting to. Now, I understand you've explained why you think they've struck the coastline, which were aligned there. But why didn't they also strike deeper into Iran? Do you think they don't want to escalate to make sure Iran does not strike the Gulf infrastructure, escalate as well? So they're trying to achieve certain strategic objectives without crossing certain lines?
Yeah, no, they don't have enough assets yet. I mean, they've got enough assets to carry out these attacks. To try again, you got to step back and say, why are they doing something militarily? There's always an objective. I mean, the Americans just don't wake up and say, let's go hit something. What? I don't know, but pick your own target. No, they've got tasking orders.
And I will say that the fact that Trump has been bombing air targets within the Strait of Hormuz, that means he's given up completely on regime change. Because if you want regime change, you bomb Tehran and try to kill leaders, or bomb major cities, like the police in major cities, to make maybe some protesters can have an uprising or something like that. You bomb targets on Keshem Island. You're focused on Strait of Hormuz. You've given up on that regime change.
That specifically identify targets, but they always step back and say, okay, why are we doing this? Well, because they define the mission, or at least in these operations orders, they're supposed to define the mission. And so the most likely mission is to open the Strait of Hormuz, to identify Iranian offensive assets, destroy those assets, to identify radar.
I think it's Trump. Trump still is laboring under the assumption that the U.S. military is undefeatable, and no matter what you demand of them, they can do it for him. And that's why he thought this war would be over in 3 days. And even if it wasn't over in 3 days, we're the U.S. How could we lose to Iran? And he's been having a rude awakening. And this is him telling U.S. military, get the fucking Straits of Hormuz open. And this is the U.S. military trying to fulfill those orders. It's not going to work. Iran has the geographical advantage. It's also dealing with a U.S. military that can't afford to take any casualties. So even if we do launch a ground operation, they kill 1,000 Americans and it's over. And in the era of FPV drones, that's not too difficult. And the terrain, they've got honeycombed the coastline with all types of defenses. Yeah, we're not taking the Strait of Hormuz.
Radar systems and communication systems and destroy those in order to degrade Iran's ability to stop ships from going through the Strait of Hormuz. That, I think, that would be a pretty clear military objective. Now, it violates the ceasefire, but, the United States has been wiping its ass with the ceasefire agreement. They don't care. And so we've seen this, these attacks along the coast, they didn't just start yesterday. I mean, they were going on last week. They were going on the week before that, which led to the initial Iranian response of saying, okay, we're breaking off all talks on the nuclear issue, which apparently they did. Pakistan was working desperately to try to get that restarted, but that's failed. And now I think Pakistan's essentially thrown its hands up in frustration about trying to play an intermediary for the United States. So this will, Iran appears to be...
I mean, this was basically a huge one-sided attack by the United States over a helicopter that we're not even sure they intentionally shot down. So, and the helicopter where the pilots didn't die. So, no, this was just Trump deciding to escalate.
They are not striking out wildly. They're not reacting with panic. They are hitting specific targets. They seem to know what they're going after. And, so they will retaliate for this current strike. And if the United States comes in with a second wave, Iran will go in with its second wave.
I have news on that one. So Trump just announced, he said U.S. fighter jets are operating over Iran and that he has spoken directly with Iranian officials. Trump said Iranian officials asked him to stop the bombing and added that the strikes will stop shortly. Trump also left the open possibility of additional strikes against Iran. So he said he spoke to Iran and they've asked him to stop and he's going to stop.
Bullshit.
Iran isn't talking to the United States. Why do you think Pakistan was involved in all this? It's because there's no one in Iran that would talk to Trump directly.
I mean, bullshit. He said they haven't talked directly to the Iranians at all. They're talking through Pakistan.
Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reading. I'm reading the same.
I know, but just you need to throw the bullshit flag on that.
I'll leave that to you.
I do agree that Mario should raise the bullshit flag himself.
I'll leave that to you. You do a good job at it. I'll just read the messages.
I brought this grumpy old man. I'm like one of those.
Yeah. Mario reads absurd bullshit messages, and grumpy old man calls them out.
The old men and the Muppets that sit up in the balcony. Yeah, I'm now one of those guys.
I'll be like, all right,
with his cigar.
He defeated the Iranians.
I'm not going to hit you, and I'm not yelling at you.
But that's a good positive news, though. At least he's stopping the attacks. The question is, if they only struck 7 targets, according to Mayor News, I wouldn't expect to because that one seems much less significant than yesterday. And yesterday, the Iranians' response was not insignificant, but not escalatory either. So we might see a pretty limited response from Iran, unless they come back fed up and just decide to escalate the 1.5 to 1 ratio.
No, I'd be surprised if Iran doesn't retaliate.
Oh, I think they will as well.
Yeah.
They did fire an American base in Erbil.
If they do a tame reprisal, then it will be 3 times in a row where they did, where they held back, because there was Israel strike on Iran where they hit back. It was really weak hit back. Then United States first hit on Iran, they hit back, but it wasn't that strong a hit back. Again, if this time it's not strong, I think it's going to start weakening their deterrence.
That's what so far.
One of the readers of my blog, who also watches you, just said, "It's Taco Wednesday."
It is Taco Wednesday. Oh, it's I honestly, I just got a bit of a
Taco Tuesday sounds so much better. Trump, couldn't you have rearrange things a little.
Flutter of happiness as soon as I read that tweet because I'm just exhausted of
By the way, taco is Trump always chickens out. Taco. For those who don't know.
these attacks. Just do want it to stop.
And it usually happens on Tuesday.
It's on a positive note. We are seeing very different rules of engagement. Obviously, anything that involves kinetic action is not a good thing, but we see more limited rules of engagement on all sides. The lines that were crossed are the strikes on the water tanks.
Yeah, which begs the question, what was the point? If this was a point just to hit back on behalf of Israel because Israel was unhappy, yeah, maybe that's it. But I've got the Strait of Hormuz is a sore point for Trump, so I can understand his strikes happening there, and there is plans for operations to go in. By the way, the other day I saw a video where apparently one of our paratrooper units is in Israel and preparing for a possible attack, like on Keshem Island or Karg Island. And yeah, that was leaked. So just because they're there doesn't need to mean they're going to be used for sure. But yeah, the plans to have a limited operation somewhere in Iran, they're still on the back burner. They're still around there somewhere. That Trump wants to be able to do that if he ever wants to have that plan ready to go.
I feel it's accidental because it doesn't make logical sense. Morandi said it can't be accidental, said Morandi. And then the strike on the petrochemical plant, treat that it's a smaller plant. I think that was intentional. That's the one by Israelis. I just feel that was intentional. But these are the two things that probably are, break the rules of engagement. But everything else has been within certain parameters so far. And Iran strike.
Not bombing those water reservoirs for 20,000 people on Keshem Island. That you know what? That really feels to me like an attempt to have Keshem Island civilians evacuate. And if civilians evacuate from Keshem Island, that would make it easier for the United States to go in and hold the island. If there's no civilians, everyone on the island can be treated as like an enemy combatant, and it makes things a lot simpler. So that might be a deliberate attempt by bombing the water on Keshem Island to get the area evacuated to prepare for a U.S. landing.
Striking Kuwait, Bahrain, added Georgia into the mix just for the fun of it.
No, they didn't add it for the fun of it. They went after to go specifically after military targets that were involved with these attacks.
Because of Israeli support, yeah. Israel used their airspace according to the Iranians, so that's why they struck orders.
So, Iran they would prefer not to escalate this, but they've done the most significant escalation by saying, okay, Strait of Hormuz is now closed. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Houthis react as well.
There was a warning. One of my guests told me, read it on the screen. I didn't see it, but apparently there was a warning by the Houthis they could get involved. Trump did say explicitly that the Israelis were not involved as well.
Yeah, and why is he saying that?
Yeah, to protect Israel.
Well, he's saying that because he's trying to provide cover that so Iran doesn't hit Ben Gurion Airport, where a bunch of U.S. aircraft are located. Iran needs to take out and destroy Ben Gurion Airport.
So he just mentioned.
Oh, sorry, I missed that.
Because he's trying to provide cover.
Are not involved as well. There was a warning by the Houthis. There was a warning. One of my guests told me, read it on the screen. I didn't see it, but apparently there was a warning by the Houthis they could get involved. Trump did say explicitly that the Israelis were not involved as well.
Israeli, yeah, that's what I thought. It was Israeli. Because U.S., since the Gulf states are a lot less excited about this war, a huge number of U.S. airplanes are in the airport in Israel.
Yeah, and why is he saying that?
And so it's to protect both Israel and U.S. assets in Israel.
Don't know.
Well, he's saying that because he's trying to provide cover that so Iran doesn't hit Ben Gurion Airport, where a bunch of U.S. aircraft are located. Iran needs to take out and destroy Ben Gurion Airport.
So he just mentioned something more now. He said he told Fox News that 49 Tomahawk missiles were used to hit targets inside Iran. Some as close as 40 miles from Tehran. U.S. fighter jets are operating over Iranian skies, taking out radar and air defense systems in the southwest.
Oh, that's a lie. I mean, look at your map. You don't see them flying over the territory.
And then he was asked what will happen if Iran does not sign the proposed agreement, and Trump replied, "We'll bomb the shit out of them tomorrow night."
Did he say bomb? Did he literally say we'll bomb the shit out of them?
That's the exact quote. We'll bomb the shit out of them tomorrow night.
Yeah. What sort of negotiate? Hey, I'm going to negotiate with you, Mario.
Yeah, I guess the fear of Iran testing a nuke has faded from Trump. Maybe Israel shared some intelligence and that they're bluffing about Iran having a nuke, and that's why we have this new Trump that is hyper aggressive again.
I want you to give me a 30% interest in your company. And then you say, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, I'm going to persuade you. I'm going to kick you in the balls and punch you in the nose. And that's going to turn you and say, oh, yeah, Mr. Johnson, that's a great idea. And tell you what, let me give you 50%. Yeah, is that an effective negotiating strategy? No, you got enough money, you'd go hire somebody to kill me. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this Trump, this art of the deal, what a buffoon.
Meanwhile, an article just came out on Bloomberg. Lockheed Martin cannot say when U.S. allies will get Patriot missiles. Top executives say arms maker does not control allocation of PAC-3 interceptors, despite tripling production. So that just literally came out now. What else?
So they've tripled production supposedly from 60 a month to 180 a month. And okay, so now that means with 180 a month they can take out 90 missiles. Has Iran fired more than 90 missiles in the last 2 weeks? I think so. So, the point is Lockheed Martin can't keep up with, if the PAC-3s are being used for these interceptions, they can't keep up. And it's even questionable that they are actually producing that amount. They say they are, but they need some rare earth minerals to do that. And last I checked.
Yeah, I call bullshit on 60 a month. Yeah, I think they're doing that. But I think maybe the 70, 80 a month that they're really trying, but triple production, I doubt it.
China's not loading its ships up to send those to the United States.
Would you be surprised if the Iranians... so actually, no. What would you expect the Iranians to retaliate? And what would you expect them to do next?
I'd go after the bases that are launching these attacks on on Iran. So that
and the base hosting the refueling tankers, and the countries that are letting their airspace be used, which is Saudi Arabia, and that base, U.S. bases in region. King Faisal Air Base. I think this is the one where United States has a lot of refueling tankers, and they might go after that.
That means take out Ben Gurion for starters. Take out Muwafaq al-Salti. Really hit it, saturate it.
I haven't struck Saudi. It's bizarre. I don't know why, because Saudi's being used for these attacks, which was yesterday.
No, it's not clear that they're being used. That's what I think. There is a deliberate. It could be a deception operation to make it appear that Saudi's involved in hopes that Iran would hit it. But the Iranians are communicating with the Saudis, just like they were communicating with the Qataris, and just like they communicated with the United Arab Emirates. Iran's making it clear to these Gulf states, hey, we really got no beef with you, but if you're going to keep letting your territory be used to attack us, we're going to have to respond against those targets. And I don't think any of the Gulf Arabs right now that they're sitting there, that they have any kind of confidence whatsoever in Donald Trump.
Individual president. It's also not an individual prime minister with the Israeli regime. It is
That's Iranian state TV.
Of what these entities are made of. And I think,
and actually various analysts are trying to point out that they're saying that one of the reasons actually, about the whole news of that angry phone call of Trump, targeting Netanyahu was to try to, throw him under the bus, basically putting the blame of all the situations on this individual serial killer. But then, allowing room for yet another serial killer to actually come to power. And because, of course.
So this is the, just that I want to put the Iranian TV commenting on it. Nothing new. KK, let me know if they say anything significant.
Iranian TV. First time I've watched that in ever, maybe? I don't watch Iranian TV.
According to Arab News, a senior Iranian official has dismissed Trump's claim that Iranian officials contact him as pure falsehood, obviously. Trump told, and I was surprised they used Tomahawk missiles again, because there's not many of them. This is one of the munitions that has been depleted.
Keep using them, Don. Keep using them. You're going to run out.
Yep.
Yeah, string this out for another 30 days using Tomahawks with in the same amount.
50% of our Tomahawks were used in the first month and a half of the war. Yeah, another month and a half, and well, you're very close to running out. And at that point, we might as well tie a ribbon around Taiwan and give it to China as a present.
They're not being replaced. The United States does not have the industrial capability to replace the rate of use.
Because we outsourced all our manufacturing to China in a brilliant strategic move.
So that's a pretty simple concept that, Trump's not grasping, and Pete Hegseth is too dumb to grasp it. But there are other senior U.S. military officials, particularly the ones that understand logistics, that say, man, we are screwing ourselves into the ground over this. Now, the other dimension that's going on here, Israel, Israel's like they're like a drunk that's gone into a bar that's picked a fight now with two guys, and it's busy fighting them. And there's this big guy sitting over on the bar stool. His name's Turkey, and Turkey's sitting there, sort of, watching this go on, staying out of it. And in the midst of this fight, Israel says, "Your mother's a whore." Turkey gets up and comes over and starts beating her up. I mean, you saw Netanyahu threaten Turkey again today, and so
Really? Netanyahu threatened Turkey. Not smart.
insulting Erdogan. Erdogan's as big a narcissist as Donald Trump, and those kinds of insults don't make him say, "Oh, okay." I mean, Turkey can actually hurt Israel. Say, "All that oil that we've been sending them, screw that. We'll send it elsewhere." There's plenty of other countries in that oil shortage environment that would prefer to have that. That gives him he's got an option. He can play that card. I don't know if he will.
I'm surprised.
I don't think over just some words would be enough to cause a big shift in Turkey's policy, but it is definitely going to keep it in mind. I mean, international relations isn't exactly the same thing as a bar fight.
by the whole Israel-Turkey thing. It just doesn't make any sense at all if they're serious about it.
I love how the US launches self-defense strikes. Bombing another country is a self-defense strike, especially when they hadn't bombed you first in this case.
By the way, the reports, before we go back to Turkey, because I've got a few questions there, the reports on, I haven't had any reports of explosions close to Tehran. Also, the fact that fighter jets were flying over Iranian airspace, that's also bizarre. They used Tomahawk missiles, and they struck, and the fighter jets, the refueling tankers, were over the Strait of Hormuz, and all the attacks were on the coastline. I don't know why they would need to be over Iranian airspace. So that claim is just a bit odd.
Mm-hmm.
On the Turkey front, I don't know what Netanyahu said about Turkey today. I missed that. Here's Erdogan. Israel strikes on Lebanon and Syria threaten Turkey. Turkish president says Israel's aggression must be stopped. Claims Jerusalem is trying to destabilize Mideast in light of discord in Cyprus. Netanyahu brands him anti-Semitic dictator. Turkish president said Wednesday that Israel's strikes in Syria and Lebanon have reached a point where it also threatens Turkey, adding that Israel's aggression poses a threat to the whole world and must be stopped. Netanyahu hit back by accusing Turkish leader of being anti-Semitic. The anti-Semitic thing is so annoying.
Anti-Semitic.
The dictator unfit to criticize Israel, while Trump hailed Erdogan as a good friend of mine, but avoided commenting on his threats made against Israel and the threats of. Oh yeah, I think Trump was asked about the two fighting. Will they fight? And Trump said, I think he said no, and he said Erdogan is a very good friend of mine. I'm sure Netanyahu didn't like that comment coming out of Trump.
Well, and Erdogan should say back to Netanyahu, "I don't hate Jews. I just hate you."
Yep.
So
I dislike him too.
The question I wanted to ask, I forgot it. I don't want to move topics before I ask the question. It was a good question. By the way, the Pakistanis, yes. The Pakistani, the head of the Lebanese military went to Pakistan. And I know we've talked about it before, but Pakistanis are making more moves in the region. And now Turkey's talking about Lebanon as well. We know about the potential alliance between Turkey, Pakistan, Saudi, etc. Saudi's not being attacked. UAE's not being attacked. So I think there's a lot to discuss. I asked that question to Professor, and he said, Mario, there's a lot of diplomatic discussions happening behind the scenes that I cannot comment on. But we may
You mean Morandi said that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
earlier today.
Yeah. No, Iran is managing this diplomacy smartly, and they've got the backing of Pakistan and the backing of China. So again, we were seeing some very aggressive moves by the UAE 2-3 weeks ago. Oh, let's bring in Iron Dome. That'll protect us, and let's help the Israelis. And I wouldn't be surprised if they force Israel to leave, because UAE is saying, you know what? Well, we don't need to be a target. We don't have the economic depth to survive a sustained attack from Iran.
Also, another thing, by the way, Trump just said this was the most violated ceasefire in the history of the world. He said that to Fox News.
Yes.
He's been doing the violating. No
Yes.
At least he didn't.
At least
he
he's
didn't admit he was
honest.
doing the violating, but he and Israel have been violating the ceasefire almost every day. For two. Let's see, it's April to May. Yeah, for 2 months.
The other thing that the professor said is that on the Emirati side, he was saying the Israelis were doing a lot. He couldn't give me specifics. I tried to get out of him, but the Israelis are doing a lot to sabotage these discussions between the Gulf, the relations between the Gulf and Iran, trying to sabotage them getting improved.
Of course they're trying to sabotage those. Duh.
improving relations. And I've been getting such reports since the beginning of the war. There's been talks by Gulf countries, including ones close to Israel, like I say, including the Emirates, Gulf countries, including the Emirates that were close to Israel, were complaining about Israeli intentions and that the Israelis are trying to drag them into the war. That's the Emiratis since the early days of the war said that to me, that they were concerned about what the Israeli intentions are. They don't trust the Israelis. That's why I've always said the Emiratis and other Gulf countries have really worked with the Israelis more out of necessity, especially for their air defenses. They still have the Iron Dome deployed here, from what I understand. But I hope we're seeing pragmatism emerge, and we're seeing relations. There was a plane.
Yeah, in this. Oh, thanks for the follow, Mulzone. And nice to have you here. I was just saying, a lot of this, like, suspicion against Israel, you have to understand anything. It might be CIA in some of these cases. I don't think CIA is completely under Trump's control, put it lightly. And but anytime there's someone trying to sabotage a deal or the relationships between the Gulf and Iran, it'll be attributed to Israel. But maybe in some of these cases, it's actually CIA.
From the Emirates go to Iran yesterday. I'm not sure if you saw it, or 2 days ago. I think it's 2 days ago. So I think we are seeing some movements there.
Yeah, there were reports, and I think there was false reports that it was carrying $3 billion. Nah, these were, if you will, senior Emiratis in a position to negotiate with Iran, and this isn't complicated. This is survival instincts. I think these guys can sit down and they could put yourself in the position that you're MBZ. Okay, look out at what is the current situation. Is the United States has the United States succeeded in opening the Strait of Hormuz? No. Has the United States succeeded in defeating Iran? No.
No.
Have they crippled the economy? No. Has
the world economy a little bit is getting there towards a crippled state, probably by the end of summer.
Iran been able to strike back and cause significant damage to U.S. interests in the region? Absolutely, yes. And Israel is attacking everybody. And so you ask yourself, what's going to be in my best interest? What will reduce the chance that I get attacked and that I'm going to have to deal with?
Well, getting attacked by a state actor like, Iran or Israel, that's only one concern that the Gulf states have. They also have the Syrian concern, which happened to Assad in Syria. It used to be just like the other Gulf states, an undemocratic regime in Syria. And CIA, Mossad, they funded ISIS in Syria to overthrow Assad. ISIS also genocided 1 million Christians in Syria, which was a thing that happened. But in the end, 10 years after this started, Assad was forced out of the country. A successful regime changed in Syria. All these Gulf states, it's not just their relationship with U.S. and Israel and Iran that's at play. There's also the fear of, if I become like Syria, someone who's not aligned with the United States, I'm going to be targeted for regime change by the CIA. And CIA it took out Syria. I think Israel rushed with regard to Iran, but small places like all these, like Saudi, Qatar, they're undemocratic and the rulers are not terribly popular, and it wouldn't take that much to overthrow them. It wouldn't be hard for the CIA to do this. So that's one reason they can't really abandon the United States too much, or they might get regime changed like Syria.
There was significant physical damage to infrastructure and to oil production, etc. I think they've calculated, what? We're better off if Iran's our friend instead of our enemy. Because Iran all along, they've never been seeking to go out. Hell, it was the Saudis who were getting mad at the Emiratis, a year ago, or last year.
Yeah.
So Iran's never been in the middle of that, trying to stir it up. I mean, really, we've used this metaphor before, but the Gulf Arabs remind me of the mean girls in high school. And if they're not fighting with some new kid in school,
I agree with everything he's saying. I just wanted to add that this is a real concern for the Gulf states. Is the threat, this threat of CIA, of a color revolution, of being overthrown by Mossad and the CIA if they don't do what United States and Israel wants. And so, yes, they don't want to be bombed by Iran to smithereens. So they really don't. If they could choose, they wouldn't want to be part of U.S. operations to attack Iran and not have to suffer bombings and drones from Iran. but they are terrified of being another Assad.
Fighting with each other.
Our friend Saeed Morandi just said the following. No Iranian has contacted the buffoon in the White House. He just posted that now.
I love that. I love that.
An informed source told Tasnim in response to Trump's statement that that strikes have paused but could resume tomorrow if Iran does not sign an agreement, that Iran will respond decisively to U.S. military aggression and will never yield to American threats. The source added that every American attack will be met with a decisive
Even if you support Trump, you have to admit that he is a buffoon sometimes.
military response, not political appeasement, stating, "quote whatever day it may be, we have proven this in the past and will prove this in the future, whether tomorrow or in the coming days." That's actually interesting. So they're hinting. That's new news, but they're hinting that maybe the response might not come in the next few hours, which for me is a positive sign. It might come, so it might be, but in that point in time we hang up, missiles are flying. But
Why do you mean it's a positive sign? Explain that.
Because I feel
Yeah,
like
please.
my worry is that Iran could not respond proportionally, but escalate this. They'll be really upset with Trump and start striking the Gulf, and then the Gulf will tell Trump, "Hey, you caused this, you need to retaliate," and then the escalation trap kicks in.
But why would they? Again, I don't follow the logic of Iran striking at the Gulf when it turns out the Gulf Arabs are not allowing their facilities to be used to strike Iran.
I agree and disagree with this. That's the problem here. For military targets, and the Gulf is not involved in attacking them, I don't think Iran would respond. There's no issue there. They go after wherever the attack is coming from. But if Israel and the United States start going after energy infrastructure, after bridges, after oil infrastructure, then it's another ball game, because their deterrence for that, the only reason Israel and Trump haven't done that so far, is the threat of Iran to destroy oil infrastructure of the other Gulf nations and completely fuck over the world economy. So that hasn't happened. United States haven't. It happened once. Israel attacked one oil facility. And I guess one oil facility, they can absorb that blow. But if they don't retaliate and that reservoir that was attacked now, that's two cases where normally, if this has happened during the first month and a half of the war, Iran would have immediately attacked similar installations in the Gulf states. If they don't do that, it's going to escalate. Trump and Israel are going to start attacking more oil facilities, destroy more desalination plants and water facilities. And they're just going to keep on doing that. And if Iran never retaliates against the Gulf states, then Israel and the United States are going to embark in a campaign to completely destroy the infrastructure of Iran. And that will probably completely wreck the economy of Iran. And it's suicide for Iran. It has to respond against the Gulf states and the infrastructure in the Gulf states if its own infrastructure is gone after. Military targets, then it can just attack Israel or attack wherever the attack is coming from. But key infrastructure, then even if their relationship with the Gulf states is improved, they're still going to have to strike the Gulf states. Realistically, they're holding back so far, even though one oil facility and one water facility has been bombed. But they're going to have to eventually retaliate for that against the Gulf states.
We've had
don't know
that.
which one now, though.
We've had no evidence. We've had no evidence of that, and I think and we've seen actually these other efforts by.
It might also be one big trap by Israel and the United States, that the one thing that has been preventing United States from striking energy and oil in Iran is the fear that Iran will attack that in Gulf states. Maybe this is an attempt to start the war again, but during that month and a half ceasefire, all the Gulf states try to get all friendly with Iran and say, we're not part of this. And like that, Israel and the United States can attack oil and energy infrastructure in Iran, and Iran won't retaliate against the Gulf, the one thing the United States really fears and doesn't want. This wouldn't put it past them that is the strategy the United States and Israel came up with, that the ceasefire was for that purpose, or at least one of the purposes was to try to set up a renewed start of the war where Iran does not retaliate against critical infrastructure in the Gulf, so that the United States can actually attack that infrastructure in Iran without worrying.
Israel to try to create incidents, to do false flags, to try. They recognize that if the work of China and Russia to create this new security architecture succeeds, And the key elements in that are Egypt, Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia. Pakistan is sort of the mediator, encourager, promoter. And if that succeeds, Israel's screwed. And so Israel, instead of trying to defuse the situation, man, they should be taking flowers and candy to Erdogan. They should say, hey, we got this great masseuse. You got a tight back. We'll send them up there, give you a nice back rub, loosen you up. Instead, Israel's doing the equivalent of kicking Erdogan in the balls. Yeah, that'll get Erdogan to say, oh, we don't want to irritate the Israelis. I mean, from Turkey's standpoint, they're looking at Israel like they are what they are. They're a pissant, vicious little country that's causing a lot of mayhem.
A very vicious little chihuahua that goes around barking, attacking everyone around it.
The area. And
they can only do that because it has Irish Wolfhound, United States, behind it, protecting it.
But I don't have a lot of sympathy for Turkey because they can put a stop to a lot of this, cut off the oil. And it's not complicated. So we can get all these people that talk a big game, but they don't do much. And Erdogan's still in the big talk, little action category.
I have a question on Trump. Why do you think he changed his tonality since the plane crash of the helicopter? Because as soon as the helicopter crashed, he initially dismissed it when asked about it. Oh, it's nothing. It's an accident, whatever he called it. I didn't think he called it an accident. I said, the pilots are safe. And it's nothing major. And then after that, he also said...
There must be so much going on behind the scenes, yes, behind some of these swings in Trump's mood and words. Feeling some people are just manipulating him or managing him to get him in the right direction.
Now we have to respond out of necessity. And then every statement that went afterwards, he escalated.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what...
it's the pressure. It's the pressure from the Zionist lobby, both Israeli and American, to go to war with Iran, not make a peace agreement. They realized, they understood because of their spying on Elbridge Colby and on J.D. Vance that, the United States and Iran were actually possibly nearing a deal. Hell, the Iranian ambassador at the UN said so on Monday. And so, by God, the only way to stop it, we got to blow this up. And, Trump
they succeeded.
He was warned by all of his so-called Zionist friends, Mark Levin and others, because my understanding is the social media, these so-called influencers, they've been blasting Trump. So the influencers who are paid by Israel, $7,000 a post supposedly.
And Trump's public support is already so low. He can't afford to lose Israel's support at this moment, or the Israeli lobby and the media and the Asmengolds of the world. And yeah, he can't. He was forced to go back to war. He started this position from a position of weakness domestically. President that starts an unpopular war with low poll numbers, you're not in a position to get your desired outcome.
Been relentlessly attacking Trump, and I think Trump's finally caved and said, okay, no, I don't want to be attacked like that. So now he launches a stupid war, a stupid escalation in the war.
It could be, another one could be that, everything that was happening, he was de-escalating everything. Attacks on Israel, oh, it's nothing. Attacks on Kuwait, Bahrain, oh, it's nothing. Attacks on Fujairah, oh, it's nothing. So he de-escalated everything. And he acted the same here. Now, I don't know, someone came to him and said, Mr. President, we have an idea. We could do X, Y, Z, and this is an opportunity to do it. And then he started escalating from there. That's maybe another possibility I was thinking about. My producer wants to play some Hexeth clips for us to listen to with the audio comment.
Sure.
Let's see what Hexeth is saying.
You have a choice. You have a choice in the way that you respond.
Put it louder, KK. Start it again. You have to put the audio louder.
Incredible negotiating team in Steve.
Great clip, man. I heard nothing, KK. The audio was too low. But I've got the statements that Hexeth made. I could just read them. No need to listen to them. I could through
Here you go.
As President Trump said, they've been tapping. You can see when someone's trying to tap on a deal. Instead, they're going to have tap bombs dropping on key facilities in Iran from the United States of America. And that's not because we want to restart anything we don't have to restart. It's because the War Department is prepared to set the terms to ensure that we get the kind of deal President Trump expects. And Admiral Cooper and the team here at CENTCOM has done a phenomenal job.
I'll have a look, Proton Snail.
From the beginning, on Epic Fury and through this blockade, ensuring that we have a chance to reach that end state, which is Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, which they say they don't want. And so since we're so close to that negotiated deal, if that's the case, they should step up and do it. There's another thing that was revealed today by the president that the press has not been aware of, but certainly this building, the U.S. Central Command, has known, is that Project Freedom, the idea of running ships through the Strait of Hormuz, it never stopped. it just went underground. And so there's some things the public knows and some things the public doesn't know. But ultimately, we've been protecting commercial shipping going through the Strait of Hormuz, as the president announced, to the tune of over 100 million barrels that have moved through and more in the middle of the night, protected by the United States in a way that Iran can't stop. They can't see it. They can't stop it. So answer me this. If our blockade is ironclad, which it is, we just disabled another tanker attempting to leave just yesterday. Our blockade has stopped almost 140 ships attempting to navigate in or out to Iranian ports.
Yes, but the idea that that Iran wouldn't notice this over a long period of time, it's just absurd. Especially after the United States snuck 2 ships through. So Iran knew that the United States was trying to do this. If they really couldn't control the strait, they would have minded already. No, this is nonsense. This is for the oil markets, for the stock market.
Ports. So if our blockade is ironclad, which it is, and we're able to move commercial shipping
For Asmongold. This is for Asmongold. I know it. Asmongold is going to react to one of these, either Trump or Hegseth saying this, and he'll be like, "Oh, that's brilliant. We snuck all this oil," and he'll completely buy the lie. This is definitely for the Asmongolds of the world.
in and out of the Strait of Hormuz, who controls the Strait of Hormuz? And President Trump said it, and he's right. The United States of America controls the Strait of Hormuz. We're able to bring oil in and out and other things with partners, and have done so now for weeks and weeks in ways the Iranians don't want to acknowledge. That's a powerful reality on the ground. Add that to what the United States military, what Central Command did to their Navy, to their Air Force, to their air defenses, to their power projection capabilities, and we know exactly on this ledger.
This is the same Trump and Hegseth, problem with his name, Hegseth, that claimed that Iran's military is completely wiped out, when it obviously isn't. They lie.
On the strong end, and who is not, who's had decisive effects and who can't defend. And so from the beginning, we've shown overwhelmingly the kind of capabilities the War Department can bring. This building continues to plan. And so those strikes that'll happen tonight will be strong. They will be clear. If they happen to happen tomorrow night, they will be strong and they will be clear. And throughout, Iran has an opportunity to make a deal. That's the point. President Trump.
Okay, ask yourself this. If that's true, then why is the United States now blowing it up? Why is the United States now revealing this great top secret operation that's underway? Because, if the what you're talking about here is if the very large crude carriers were being used, my understanding they carry around 2 million barrels.
And they move at the speed of a bicycle, and they're as big as 2 football fields.
Okay, 100 million, so that means 50 ships. Is it possible that 50 ships came out over the course of 3 months? Oh, maybe. But that, look up the how many millions of barrels of oil does the United States use per day? And so you realize they're making it sound like 100 million is a big friggin' deal. It's not. But again, if you've got this great top secret operation going on, why are you revealing it?
Yes. And this was already revealed. It already revealed like a month ago that it's not 2 ships through. Think Iran wouldn't have taken steps to make sure they're not sticking ships through at night? I
mean, that makes no sense. If you got this great thing going on, keep it going, baby. You're breaking the Iranian control. It's just, like I said, it's such nonsense. And I think they're pushing this out, if nothing else, to try to influence the oil market, because
exactly. This is about the oil market. We'll get into oil market after this, because that's it's completely manipulated now.
Acts are going to, they're already leading to increases in price on both Brent and West Texas. I mean, the future price of oil are just being grossly suppressed. And noting, so while that's going on, though, inflation in the United States, it's increased again. And you got a lot of traders out there, oil traders, who are reported to be shorting oil as if this Hormuz crisis is over. Well, guess what? They've now taken bets on short positions that they're going to eat, and that's going to fuel a further economic.
That is what happened back in 2009, 2010 with wheat and soybeans and corn. Record harvests. All these people took short positions, and they got fucked.
Hit. That's going to worsen global economic conditions.
I looked at how many millions of barrels of oil go through the Hormuz before the Iran wars, 20 million a day. So the claim is that 5 days worth of oil went through the Hormuz in the last couple of months, I guess.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a big, I mean, See how nonsensical it is? They're making a big deal out of something this stupid. And again, it's an information operation to drive with one purpose, to drive public opinion, to make people believe, oh, this isn't bad, everything's okay. You know, like in you know that movie scene from Naked Gun. There's Leslie Nielsen standing there going, "Nothing to see here. Move along, folks. Nothing to see here."
Nuclear weapon. If they had a nuclear weapon,
Okay, we can hear the audio. Oh, there
no
it is.
Israel, there'd be no Middle East, and they would have absolutely shot at us. So we'll see what happens. But we have, what do I know? I really believe it. If it meant losing the Senate, you would not let that happen. That's just a terrible thing. I mean, I watch it happening. It's unfolding. It's really history because there's never been a guy like that that's ever run for office.
Yes, you see, Trump is latching on to the nuclear issue as his political justification for all the economic disaster, public relations disaster for the United States and Israel, and the humiliation of the military, U.S. military, everything. He's latching on to nuclear issue and says, I'm doing all this to prevent Iran from having a nuke. If Iran tests a nuke, Trump is finished. Like, finished. He won't be able to spin it in any way, what he's doing in the Middle East. He'll be a lame duck or worse for the rest of his term. And that's sad.
At any level. I don't think at any level. And the excuses, they come up every day. Somebody comes forward with really proven stuff. Even his business, you know, he's not a businessman at all. His parents supported him. Guys are simply the radical left Democrats. And I won't if they do their job. If coming to education.
I've said from the beginning that Iran has a path to victory, hold the Strait of Hormuz closed 6 months. But Trump has given them another path to victory. Detonate a nuke. He's finished politically if they do that. And if they do both, hold the Strait of Hormuz closed 6 months, then detonate a nuke. Oh my God.
The Democrat there, human parties voted to protect law from men and killers. The thing.
No, it's glitching,
We're not giving, and this, you know, the week they did runoff, and then I hit them hard, and then I started talking about Steve Hilton, who's a fantastic guy.
Okay, let's have a look at what's going on in the oil markets. It's a good discussion of that in this video.
That's why I'm getting the syndrome that I told you about, the allergy. Well, it's a pleasure to speak to you. So, obviously, we have the helicopter that was brought down yesterday. A lot of people are questioning whether Iran really...
With the helicopter, the first largest, the third largest, the fourth largest, meaning that for very small changes,
here we go.
They can hit stuff. We also know that we're not being treated to any, we're not allowed, I haven't found them, comprehensive satellite photos from the region or from Israel. So don't really know how effective anybody's being. But I do, this is the thing I do sort of accept at this point. Of all the parties, Iran has been saying very clearly, we'll do tit for tat. And if you do this, we'll do that.
Yes.
And they've said very clearly that if Trump, made a boast or a claim this morning, we're going to go after their power plants, we're going to take out bridges. Right? If we do that to Iran has clearly said, well, now we're coming after your energy targets that either belong to the United States, Israel, or affiliated, related, supportive parties. Right? So that, I guess that would mean Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, etc. So I guess that's where we're at. If Trump does escalate, I think he's going to have to be very careful, and obviously it would have to be a measured escalation and not take it so. How far can you go without Iran going, all right, that's it, we're opening them up and we're going to dial in and we're going to take out the rest of the energy infrastructure in the Gulf? Because if that happens, Mario, the only question is how bad is the worldwide economic catastrophe going to be?
That is the question.
Why do you think oil prices are so low, below $90? I haven't checked them today yet, but yesterday they were as low as $85. And even after the back and forth between the U.S.
Manipulation and lies, and the release of strategic oil reserves. Those three.
and Iran. So they were 85 after Israel and Iran traded blows. And then the U.S. attacks Iran. Iran retaliates. Very limited retaliation from Iran. And
well, I've said since the beginning of the war that they needed to hold oil prices down, and they would do it. I said at least 2 months, which has happened, but they're holding it down even longer. When that ends is shortages in the physical market. As long as you have reserves that governments can release, then there won't be a shortage in the physical market, and they can manipulate the price. You can sell a lot of oil futures on the futures exchange. Trump can say, we're sneaking out 100 million barrels of oil through the Strait of Hormuz. It's basically open already. He can make claims like that, and that'll make everyone really happy. So it's all going to be very muted. What's going to happen, and it has happened lots of times in the past, in gold, in food back in 2010 when we had the food crisis then, is there's going to be shortages. And that's going to start happening in July. Actual physical shortages intensifying into August. And that's when it won't matter. The manipulation doesn't matter anymore. Trump can claim that there's 500 million barrels of oil coming out of the Strait of Hormuz. There's actual shortages in the physical market. That cancels it all out. Love how Don talks. Yep.
Let me see what it is now. You probably know the number, but even after that, it was only at 80. It peaked only at 87, 88. So still below 90. Is that because Trump's saying the truth that ships are going through, or it's something else? It's
That's
still below 90. It's 89, but it broke 90 a bit today, but still far from the $100 mark we were at a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and far below what it needs to be. So
Exactly.
the most reliable chart in all of economics is what they call the PQ chart, right? It's price and quantity against demand, right? So there's a curve. As you have greater demand or greater supply, the price sort of slides along this arc because, if you have too much supply, and oil is famous this way, it's what they call inelastic, meaning that for very small changes in supply relative to demand, you get very large movements in the overall price. So we would be expecting to see a lot of movement in the price. We haven't been seeing that movement. I got some speculation as to why that is, but it hasn't been happening.
In the price of gas at the pump or the price of WTI, the price in the futures?
All related. So it's really the price of the futures. Everything keys off of that futures
It
price.
does.
We haven't been seeing those price movements. And because of that, I can't find airline flights flowing. No change from last year, actually slightly up. India's demand is up 2.6% year over year. We're not seeing any diminution in actual demand at the pump in the United States. So that's because the price is set at a level where demand is even higher now. And the only way to get demand down is to bring prices up. And that hasn't been allowed to happen. So fast forward, we just got a reading from the EIA today, and we're eating into our seed corn in this story, right? So in the last month, we have seen in history the first largest, the third largest, the fourth largest, the fifth largest draws ever in all of history. And normally, in times past, having watched them carefully,
Of what?
crude oil.
Oh, the petroleum reserves. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's the SPR, but this is looking at the overall crude situation, commercial inventories, SPR, add it all up.
Okay.
Today, I think, was officially another 15.1 million barrels, about half each, commercial to SPR.
Countries from around the world are coming to the United States to load up with oil because of the shortfall from the Middle East. And that's why we're having these huge draws.
And so normally when you see huge crude draws like that, that has an immediate impact on the price. It has in times past. It doesn't affect it anymore. So that's a little weird. And making it even weirder, Goldman Sachs released a study, a survey they did, 4 or 5 days ago. And they asked 839 oil traders, hey, how bearish, how bullish are you? They've never measured a higher level of bearishness than in this last reading in the last 10 years. And bullishness has been dropping steadily for the past 2 months. Against this backdrop,
I have to go back to my old blog entries about in 2009 when the USDA just one record harvest forecast after another for the U.S. crops. And the price of wheat plummeted. And the next year, it doubled. Because all those forecasts were bullshit. And there was a big shortage next year.
it's a very bizarre thing.
On the bearishness, bullishness on the economy?
No, on oil, on the price of oil.
Oh, no.
This is just oil.
Bearish. That means, yes, bearish isn't. Most people think price will fall.
Yep.
Okay.
Somehow all these traders have been convinced that price is going to fall. So to
they've been convinced that what Trump is saying about 100 million barrels of extra oil was true and is happening, and that Iran has lost control of the Strait of Hormuz. And so they're all bearish, and they've all been deceived.
Speculate. We early on, Vitol, all these big trading houses said in the early part of the war, somebody was stepping in and just at size, really just selling a lot of oil futures. And so there's a lot of speculation. People thought it was U.S. Treasury through the cent, or it was them plus maybe Japan too. Japan has a strong incentive to keep the stated price down for their own reasons. And so there's an idea that we have an invisible hand in the oil markets. It's starting to gain a lot of traction amongst more people. To me, this didn't start with the war. We've been seeing this kind of shenanigans in the oil market basically for a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And by shenanigans, I mean there'll be a little tiny window of time. We'll call it a 1 minute increment where you see what kind of trade.
It's been going on longer than that. It just might have become more blatant recently. That was going on back in 2008. I was keeping track of open interest in commodities back then. And yeah, there were crazy shit going on.
Trades happen in that minute. And in that 1 minute, Mario, we'll see somebody suddenly decide to sell all at once 2, 3, 4, 5. The largest I ever saw was 6 million barrels of oil just sold, just dropped on the tape. It's not real oil. It's paper oil. It's futures contracts. But When you see that kind of thing happening, that tends to have a very suppressive influence on the price. And we've seen this happen overall in commodities for years. Gold, very obvious. Silver, very obvious.
Yes,
copper, wheat, we've seen it, but it's
absolutely.
actually in oil now too. And that's a weird thing. So I think you do that enough, and next thing you know, all your traders are like, I'm bearish on the price of oil. Why? Well, because it just keeps going down. Why?
It keeps going down, and there keep being stories of Trump. The deal is we're on the verge of a deal. We've snuck out all this oil. The entire mainstream media and the U.S. president are cooperating to create this impression that oil should be lower than it actually is, when it's the opposite. Oil should be higher.
the scenario we're in right now.
Guess what just happened?
What?
Hexeth just said now, CENTCOM will be busy tonight. We will be hitting Iran hard. We will bomb key facilities in Iran. The strikes that will happen tonight will be strong and clear.
That's unfortunate.
That's from 4 hours ago. Apparently, Trump might have backed down from this, but you never know.
Do you think that Iran has the capability to strike back?
Oh, shit, yeah.
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 I do too.
So we know each other not that well. Do you have a spare bedroom if I come over?
Mario's in
you can have a
Dubai.
trailer of stuff. I have rules.
Yeah, so they said that now. Iran has a chance to make a deal.
Well, they're going on to other subjects, but I just wanted to highlight, yes, the oil market is not behaving like it should. And it's what you should concentrate, the real, the what he was talking about, the drawdowns in U.S. inventories. That is proof that, yes, the world is getting closer and closer to actual oil shortage. And according to experts, that's going to start happening in July. And it's going to get really bad in August. So that is where we are. And I think that'll do it for this Iran section today. That is the update. United States bombing Iran. It's Iran's turn to retaliate. That'll happen at some point. The oil market situation keeps getting worse and no deal in sight. My forecast again is still for this to end in August, when shit hits the fan in the oil market and everyone panics and forces Trump to accept a deal with Iran that he doesn't like. Anyway, this will be on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Come watch and kick our Twitch. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.